Imagine an endless expanse of white, a world locked in ice where the only sound is the howling wind of a relentless blizzard. This is the Pleistocene, a brutal, frozen kingdom. Thunder cracks, not from clouds, but from the groaning, shifting hearts of immense glaciers, mountains of ice that stretch to the horizon. Out of this fury of snow and wind, a colossal shape begins to emerge. Not slowly, but with the unstoppable force of a tectonic plate. First, a horn, thick and curved like a scythe, carving a deep furrow in the frozen earth. Then, a massive head, followed by a body built like a fortress. This is the woolly rhinoceros, Elasmotherium scaricum. Its shaggy coat, each breath it takes erupts into a dense cloud of steam, a fleeting sign of the life and heat raging within this prehistoric titan. Its small eyes, ancient and knowing, scan the desolate landscape. It is a king in its icy domain, a survivor forged in the planet's coldest furnace. This giant, a true ruler of the Ice Age, walked this very earth, and then it was gone. The story of the woolly rhinoceros is more than just a chapter in a dusty textbook. It's a profound mystery, a ghost story written in the fossil record for hundreds of thousands of years. These magnificent beasts roamed a vast territory, stretching from Eastern Europe all the way across the Siberian plains. They were a pinnacle of adaptation, perfectly engineered to thrive in conditions that would instantly freeze most life today. So what happened? How could such a dominant, resilient creature simply vanish from the face of the earth? This question isn't just about one species. It's a chilling reminder of how fragile even the mightiest life can be. To understand its disappearance, we must first understand its life. The woolly rhinoceros wasn't just a rhino with a fur coat. It was a specialist. Fossil evidence, particularly the unique structure of its teeth, tells us it was a grazer. Unlike its modern relatives that browse on leaves and shrubs, this Ice Age giant likely fed on the tough, dry grasses that carpeted the vast, cold steppe environments. Its powerful horn wasn't just for defense against predators like cave lions or hyenas. It was probably a multi-tool used to sweep away snow to uncover hidden vegetation. A prehistoric snowplow that meant the difference between life and death. Its very anatomy tells a story of survival. The thick, woolly undercoat provided insulation, while the long outer guard hairs repelled snow and water. A large hump on its back, similar to that of a bison, likely stored fat, reserves a crucial energy source to get through the long, lean winters when food was scarce. It was a walking, breathing testament to evolution's power to conquer the extreme. These creatures were not just surviving, they were thriving in a world we can barely imagine. They were an integral part of a complex ecosystem known as the mammoth steppe, a unique environment that has no modern equivalent. The mammoth steppe was a sprawling, dry grassland, unlike the wet, boggy tundra we see in the Arctic today. It supported a breathtaking megafauna: woolly mammoths, steppe bison, cave bears, and of course, the woolly rhinoceros. These giants were the engineers of their environment. Their constant grazing prevented forests from taking over, maintaining the open grasslands they all depended on. It was a delicate, interconnected web of life, perfected over millennia. But as the last ice age began to wane, this world started to change, and the clock began to tick for its inhabitants. Around 12,000 years ago, the Earth's climate entered a period of rapid warming. The colossal ice sheets that had locked up so much of the world's water began to melt. This wasn't a gentle thaw. It was a dramatic, chaotic shift. Sea levels rose, landscapes were reshaped, and the climate became warmer and wetter. For the woolly rhinoceros, this was a catastrophe. The vast, dry mammoth steppe, its primary food source, began to shrink and fragment. It was replaced by wetlands, bogs, and dense forests environments, entirely unsuited to a specialist grazer. Its world was literally dissolving from under its feet. Imagine being perfectly adapted for one specific lifestyle, only to have the rules of the game change almost overnight. The tough grasses it relied on were replaced by shrubs and trees it couldn't easily digest. The open plains it needed for grazing and travel became dense, impenetrable woods. For the woolly rhinoceros, this climate change was an extinction-level event. Its evolutionary advantages suddenly became disadvantages. Its specialization, once its greatest strength, now became its fatal flaw. But was climate change the only culprit? There was another, new and powerful force spreading across the landscape during this exact period. Modern humans, our ancestors, armed with sophisticated tools and cooperative hunting strategies, were incredibly effective predators. While direct evidence of humans hunting woolly rhinoceros is scarce compared to mammoths, it's almost certain that we did. For a species already struggling with a collapsing habitat and dwindling food sources, even occasional pressure from human hunters could have been devastating. It's what scientists call a double whammy. The rhinos were caught between a changing climate and a clever new predator. It was a deadly combination from which there was no escape. The final act of this tragedy played out in the heart of Siberia. Recent genetic studies and radiocarbon dating of fossils have pinpointed the last stand of the woolly rhinoceros. While many other Ice Age giants vanished around 12,000 years ago, it seems a small, isolated population of these rhinos held on for thousands of years longer in the frigid landscapes of northeastern Siberia. They were refugees, clinging to the last vestiges of their lost world. But their time was running out. The final warming spike at the end of the Ice Age was the final blow. Their last habitat disappeared, and with it, they did too. The last woolly rhinoceros took its final breath, and an entire branch of the tree of life was severed forever. The extinction of the woolly rhinoceros is a somber lesson from our planet's past. It shows us that no species, no matter how powerful or well adapted, is immune to extinction. It highlights the devastating impact of rapid climate change and the immense pressure that even a small population of humans can exert on an ecosystem. When we look at the challenges facing our world today, rapidly warming climate and unprecedented habitat loss, that story of the woolly rhinoceros feels less like ancient history and more like a chilling prophecy. The ghosts of the Ice Age have a warning for us, written in bone and stone. It's a reminder that the fate of the magnificent creatures we share the planet with today, and ultimately our own, is in our hands. We must choose to listen. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the mysteries of our planet's past. See you next time. In the heart of the Ice Age, a blizzard rages. Visibility is near zero, and the wind howls like a hungry wolf. But here, amidst the fury of the storm, a miracle is unfolding. A new life begins. A woolly rhinoceros calf, tiny and vulnerable, takes its first breath in a world of biting cold and swirling snow. Its mother, a colossal fortress of fur and muscle, immediately shields her newborn, her massive body a living wall against the elements. She nudges the little one with her enormous head, a gentle encouragement to face the harsh reality of this frozen world. The calf, slick and shivering, is a mere shadow of the giant it will become. Its legs, like spindly stilts, tremble uncontrollably. The first great challenge of its life is simply to stand. It struggles, slipping on the icy ground, collapsing back into the snow time and time again. Its mother watches, patient and vigilant, her warm breath creating clouds of steam in the frigid air. With a final, desperate push, the calf finds its footing. It sways, unsteady, but it is standing. This is the first victory in a life that will be full of them. Taking its first steps is another monumental effort. Each hoof sinks deep into the fresh powder, a strange and cold sensation. It stumbles, it falls, but with every attempt, its muscles learn and strengthen. Guided by its mother's low rumbles, it begins to explore this white, cold landscape, its small, button-like horn barely visible on its nose. Soon, it finds the source of warmth and life, its mother's milk, a rich, fatty sustenance designed to fuel its rapid growth in this unforgiving climate. Sheltered by her side, the calf is safe, for now. As the blizzard subsides, the world is reborn in brilliant, blinding white under a clear, cold sun. The calf, now a few days old, is more confident on its feet. It playfully charges at snowdrifts, kicking up flurries of powder, its youthful energy a stark contrast to the ancient, stoic landscape. Its mother keeps a watchful eye, her gaze constantly scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The vast open steppe is home to formidable predators, and a lone calf is a tempting target. The endless white gives way to patches of green, and the air fills with the scent of damp earth and new growth. For the calf, it's a season of discovery. It tastes its first blades of tough steppe grass, mimicking its mother as she grazes. Its woolly coat, once a uniform brown, begins to show the rich, reddish tones of an adult. The small bump on its nose is now a discernible horn, a few inches long, sharp, and ready for practice bouts against sturdy shrubs. The herd is a constant presence, a moving community of giants. They chase each other across the tundra, their thundering hooves a testament to their growing power. It is within the safety of the herd that the calf learns what it means to be a woolly rhino. Summer is short but glorious. The sun hangs high in the sky for long hours, bathing the landscape in a golden light. The plains are lush with vegetation, and the rhinos feast, building up the fat reserves they will need to survive the coming winter. It watches the older bulls, studying their displays of strength, learning the rituals of dominance and defense. One of the most important lessons is recognizing danger. The scent of a cave lion on the wind, the distant howl of a dire wolf pack, the shadow of a giant, short-faced bear. These are the threats that haunt the Pleistocene plains. When an alarm call rings out, the herd's reaction is instantaneous. They form a defensive circle, a wall of horns and muscle, with the vulnerable calves protected in the center. These tense encounters are a brutal but necessary part of its education. The days grow shorter, the air crisper. It is time for the great migration, guided by an ancient internal map passed down through generations. The herd begins to move. For the young rhino, this is the longest journey of its life. It walks for miles every day, its growing body tested to its limits, It learns the pathways carved by its ancestors, crossing wide rivers and navigating treacherous mountain passes. The migration is a race against time, a journey towards sheltered valleys where food will be more accessible during the harsh winter months. The calf walks in its mother's footsteps, her presence a constant source of strength and reassurance. It witnesses the full, breathtaking scale of its world, a vast panorama of plains, forests, and icy peaks. It sees other great herds, mammoths and bison, all moving with the same urgent purpose, all part of the great rhythm of the Ice Age. Winter returns, and with it the biting cold and heavy snows. But this year, the rhino is no longer a tiny, helpless newborn. It is a robust subadult, nearly as tall as its mother's shoulder. Its coat is a thick, two-layered defense against the cold, with long, coarse-guard hairs covering a dense, woolly undercoat. Its horns are now formidable weapons, and it knows how to use its massive head to sweep away deep snow and uncover the frozen vegetation beneath. It has adapted, it has grown, it has survived. Its mother has given it the best possible start in life, but its continued survival is a testament to its own strength, resilience, and the incredible adaptations of its species. It is a living legacy, a product of 1,000,000 years of evolution in a world of extremes. As we watch it stand against the wind, a solitary silhouette on a frozen horizon, we are reminded of the incredible tenacity of life and the enduring power of nature. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you were captivated by the story of the woolly rhinoceros, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow our channel for more adventures into the prehistoric world. Step back in time with us to a world sculpted by ice and wind. This is the Pleistocene, an era of giants, and roaming these vast, frozen plains is one of its most iconic inhabitants, the woolly rhinoceros. Imagine herds of these colossal beasts, their shaggy coats a shield against the biting cold, their immense horns silhouetted against a pale, icy sun. They are the undisputed kings of this tundra, moving with a purpose that has been perfected over millennia. Look closely at how they survive in this harsh landscape. The key lies in that magnificent horn. It's not just for defense, it's a vital tool. Watch as a rhino lowers its head, using the broad, flattened front horn like a natural snowplow. With powerful sweeps from side to side, it clears away deep drifts of snow, uncovering the life-sustaining vegetation buried beneath. This simple yet brilliant adaptation allows them to access food even in the harshest winters, a testament to their incredible resilience. So, what exactly are they searching for? Their diet, while seemingly sparse, is surprisingly diverse. They are bulk grazers, feasting primarily on the hardy grasses and sedges that carpet the steppe tundra. Think of it as an endless, frozen buffet of dry, nutrient-rich forage. But they aren't picky eaters. When grasses are scarce, they'll turn to low-lying shrubs, woody plants, and even the tender leaves of dwarf willows and birches that cling to life in this unforgiving environment. Every mouthful is a victory against the cold, providing the fuel needed to maintain their massive bodies and generate precious warmth. Life in the Ice Age was a constant battle for survival, and the weather was a formidable opponent. Picture a blizzard rolling in, a swirling vortex of snow and ice that reduces visibility to almost zero and sends temperatures plummeting. While other animals might seek shelter, the woolly rhinoceros stands its ground. Huddled together, Their thick, oily fur and dense undercoat provide superb insulation. They lower their heads, turn their backs to the wind, and simply endure. Their bodies are built for this, capable of withstanding days of relentless storms. Their slow metabolism allowing them to conserve energy until the tempest passes. This remarkable endurance is what separated survivors from victims in the Pleistocene. Being a giant has its perks, especially when it comes to predators. A full-grown woolly rhinoceros, weighing up to 3 tons and armed with a formidable horn, was a walking fortress. Predators of the era, like the fearsome cave lion or packs of giant hyenas, were certainly a threat, but they knew better than to challenge a healthy adult head-on. You would often see them watching from a distance, their eyes filled with a mixture of hunger and respect, waiting for a sign of weakness. They targeted the old, the sick, or the very young calves that had strayed too far from their mother's protection. An adult rhino, however, was a risk few predators were willing to take. A single charge from one of these behemoths could be lethal. Let's explore the social structure of these magnificent animals. While often depicted as solitary wanderers, fossil evidence and cave art suggest they may have lived in small family groups or crashes, much like modern rhinos. A mother and her calf would form a powerful bond, with the mother fiercely protective, teaching her offspring the vital skills of foraging and defense. Imagine a young rhino still covered in a slightly lighter, softer coat, mimicking its mother's snow-sweeping motions with its smaller horn. These interactions provided safety in numbers and allowed for the passing of generational knowledge, crucial for navigating the perils of their world. The soundscape of the Ice Age would have been punctuated by the calls of these animals. While we can only speculate, it's likely they communicated through a series of grunts, snorts, and deep rumbles that could travel long distances across the open plains. These sounds would have been used to signal danger, locate other members of the herd, or establish dominance during mating season. Imagine the ground vibrating slightly as a bull rhino issues a low-frequency call, a warning to any rivals who might be encroaching on his territory. It's a world we can only piece together through science, but what a powerful world it must have been. One of the most defining features, of course, is that iconic shaggy coat. It consisted of 2 layers, a dense, woolly undercoat for insulation and long, coarse guard hairs on top to repel snow and water. The color likely ranged from a yellowish-brown to a darker reddish-brown, providing excellent camouflage against the muted tones of the tundra landscape. This incredible fur, combined with a thick layer of fat beneath the skin, made them perfectly equipped for a life lived at the edge of the world's great ice sheets. They weren't just surviving the cold, they were built for it, thriving in conditions that would be lethal for most other creatures. As the seasons changed, so did the behavior of the herds. The short, intense summers would have brought a brief flush of green to the landscape. This was a time of plenty, a crucial period for the rhinos to build up their fat reserves for the long winter ahead. Calves born in the spring would grow rapidly on the abundance of fresh vegetation, and the herds might have traveled vast distances following the retreating snow line to find the best grazing spots. These seasonal migrations were an ancient rhythm, a dance of life dictated by the sun and the ice. The story of the woolly rhinoceros is a profound tale of adaptation and endurance. For over 350,000 years, they roamed across the northern continents of Eurasia, a dominant force in one of Earth's most extreme ecosystems. Their eventual extinction, around 10,000 years ago, coincided with the end of the last ice age and the rapid climate change that followed. The world they were so perfectly built for vanished, the endless grassy steppes replaced by forests and wetlands. It's a sobering reminder of how even the mightiest creatures are subject to the forces of a changing planet. Today, we are left with their legacy, frozen in time. From complete carcasses preserved in the Siberian permafrost to ancient paintings on cave walls, the woolly rhinoceros continues to capture our imagination. They are a symbol of a lost world, a world of ice, mammoths, and giants. By studying them, we learn not only about the past, but also about the incredible power of evolution and the intricate connections that bind all life to the environment it inhabits. Thank you for joining us on this journey back to the Ice Age. If you enjoyed this glimpse into a prehistoric world, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more adventures into the deep past. In the vast, silent expanse of the North, where the world is painted in shades of white and gray, a profound story of life unfolds. This is the realm of the moose, a landscape both beautiful and unforgiving. Here, against a backdrop of falling snow, we witness one of nature's most intimate bonds, that between a mother and her calf. From the very first moments of life, the calf is utterly dependent. Weighing a mere 30 pounds at birth, it is a fragile creature in a world of giants. But its mother, a towering figure of strength and resilience, is its constant guardian. This initial bond is immediate and powerful, forged in the quiet solitude of the forest. The first few weeks are critical. The mother, known as a cow, keeps her calf hidden, moving stealthily through the dense undergrowth, away from the prying eyes of predators. Her milk, rich and nourishing, is the calf's only sustenance, helping it to gain strength with each passing day. As the calf grows, so does its curiosity. It begins to explore its world, always under the watchful eye of its mother. She is not just a protector, she is a teacher. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig is a lesson in survival. She teaches her calf what to eat, the tender shoots of willow, birch, and aspenand what to avoid. She shows it how to navigate the complex terrain, from boggy marshes to steep, rocky slopes. The calf learns by imitation, mimicking her every move, absorbing the ancient knowledge passed down through generations. This period of long maternal care is unique and vital. Unlike many other ungulates, a moose calf may stay with its mother for a full year, sometimes even longer, until she is ready to give birth again. This extended apprenticeship is crucial for its long-term survival. The changing seasons dictate the rhythm of their lives. As winter's grip tightens, food becomes scarce. The deep snow that blankets the landscape makes movement difficult and tiring. It is now that the mother's experience is most critical. She knows the ancient migratory routes, the hidden valleys where the snow is less deep and food can still be found. The family group, often just the two of them, embarks on a seasonal journey. This is a perilous time. The calf, still young and inexperienced, struggles to keep up. Its shorter legs sink deep into the snow, and its energy wanes quickly. The mother constantly waits, nudging it along, her presence a source of comfort and encouragement. Predators are an ever-present threat. Wolves and bears are the primary hunters of moose calves. The stark visual contrast between the powerful adult and the vulnerable young is a constant reminder of the dangers they face. A mother moose is one of the most formidable defenders in the animal kingdom. When threatened, her calm demeanor vanishes, replaced by ferocious courage. She will stand her ground, using her massive size and powerful hooves to drive off any attacker. Her every instinct is geared towards one goal: protecting her offspring. Many calves, however, do not survive their first year. The challenges are immense, and only the strongest and luckiest will see their first spring. This low birth rate is a significant factor in moose population dynamics. A cow typically gives birth to only one calf, and twins are a rare and special occurrence. This makes the survival of each individual calf incredibly important for the future of the herd. The investment the mother makes is enormous. For a full year, she dedicates her life to this single offspring, sharing her food, her knowledge, and her strength. As spring returns, the landscape transforms. The snow melts, and the forest awakens with new life. The calf is now almost a year old, larger, stronger, and wiser. It has shed its reddish-brown natal coat for the dark, shaggy fur of an adult. It has learned the ways of the forest, the language of the wind, and the art of survival. The bond with its mother remains strong, but a change is coming. Soon, the mother will drive her yearling away. This may seem harsh, but it is a necessary act of tough love. She is preparing to give birth to a new calf, and she cannot care for both. The yearling must now make its own way in the world, equipped with the lessons it has learned. It is a solitary journey, filled with new challenges and discoveries. The young moose will wander, exploring new territories, until it is ready to find a mate and continue the cycle of life. The mother, meanwhile, finds a secluded spot to welcome her next offspring. The cycle begins anew. This enduring pattern of birth, care, and separation is the heartbeat of the northern wilderness. It is a story of sacrifice, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. In this quiet, snowy world, every life is precious, and every survival is a triumph against the odds. It is a testament to the quiet strength and enduring spirit of one of nature's most majestic creatures. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of the moose. If you found this story as moving as we did, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who appreciate the wonders of the natural world. Your support helps us continue to bring these incredible stories to life. We'll see you next time. Step back in time with me to a world sculpted by ice, a world dominated by giants. Among them, a true titan of the Pleistocene, the woolly rhinoceros, cloaked in a thick, shaggy coat, with a massive horn clearing paths through snow-covered landscapes. It was a creature perfectly adapted to the cold. For hundreds of thousands of years, these magnificent beasts roamed the vast, frozen steppe that stretched across Eurasia, from Scotland to Siberia, a testament to nature's power of adaptation. They were survivors, thriving in conditions that would seem impossibly harsh to us today. They witnessed the ebb and flow of ice ages, grazing on the tough grasses and sedges that poked through the snow, living alongside mammoths, cave lions, and our own ancient ancestors. But the world, as it always does, was changing. A warmth began to creep into the air, almost imperceptibly at first. The great ice sheets, which had defined their world for millennia, began to pull back like a slowly receding tide. Glaciers that had carved valleys began to weep, their meltwater forming new rivers and lakes. What was once a vast, open landscape of frozen tundra, the perfect grazing ground for a woolly rhino, started to transform. Imagine watching this change through their eyes. The familiar crunch of solid, frozen ground underfoot gives way to a squelch of mud and bog. The endless expanse of snow, which their dark coats stood out against, becomes a patchwork of green and brown. The air, once crisp and dry, grows heavy with moisture. For a creature built for the cold, this new warmth was not a gentle spring. It was a suffocating blanket. Their thick, insulating fur, once a life-saving asset, became a sweltering burden. They would have sought shade, wallowed in mud, to cool down, their bodies struggling to cope with a climate they were never designed for. The vegetation changed too. The tough, dry grasses and forbs they were specialists at eating started to be replaced. As temperatures rose, taller shrubs and dense forests began to advance, encroaching on their open-steppe habitat. These new forests were not a welcoming sanctuary. They were a maze of obstacles, difficult for a large, bulky animal to navigate. The food they relied on became scarcer, harder to find. What was once a continent-wide buffet was shrinking into isolated pockets of suitable grassland. The woolly rhinoceros was becoming a refugee in its own homeland, pushed into ever smaller territories by an invisible, relentless force. And then another pressure arrived. A new kind of predator, one that walked on two legs, mastered fire, and wielded cleverly crafted weapons. Our ancestors, Homo sapiens, for a long time, humans and rhinos had coexisted. But as the climate warmed, human populations expanded, moving into new territories, the very same territories the rhinos were retreating to. We were intelligent, organized, and highly effective hunters. A single woolly rhino could provide an enormous amount of food, thick hides for shelter and clothing, and bone for tools. Cave paintings across Europe depict these hunts, a testament to the rhino's importance to our ancestors and to the pressure we exerted upon them. It wasn't a sudden onslaught, not a single dramatic war. It was a slow, grinding process, a death by 1,000 cuts. Every rhino that fell to a hunter's spear was one less individual to reproduce. Every herd that was cornered and weakened was a blow to the species' future. The rhinos were already stressed, already struggling with the changing climate and shrinking habitat. The added pressure of persistent, intelligent hunting was more than they could bear. Imagine the last herds, smaller, fragmented. Finding a mate would have become more difficult. The gene pool would have shrunk, making them more vulnerable to disease. The old, vast landscapes were gone. The security of their frozen world had vanished. They were trapped between a warming climate they couldn't escape and a predator they couldn't outsmart. It's a deeply melancholic picture. These powerful, majestic animals, who had survived ice ages and faced down cave lions, were now simply fading away. We can see the final chapters of their story written in the fossil record. Their range shrinks dramatically. Their numbers plummet. The last confirmed evidence of woolly rhinoceroses dates back to around 14,000 years ago in northeastern Siberia. There, in a final isolated refuge, the last of their kind likely walked the earth, the world changing faster than they could adapt. When the last woolly rhino died, the world didn't stop. The forests continued to grow, the ice continued to melt, and humanity continued its relentless march forward. But the silence they left behind was profound. A thread in the rich tapestry of life had been permanently severed. Their story is not just a tale from a distant past. It is a powerful, poignant lesson. It shows us how profoundly climate can reshape the world and how even the mightiest of creatures can be brought to the brink by a combination of free seeds, environmental change, and pressure from other species, including our own. Today, we look back at the woolly rhino with a sense of wonder and loss. They remind us of a wilder, colder world, but also serve as a stark warning. Their 5 living relatives, the black, white, Indian, Javan, and Sumatran rhinoceros, now facing their own extinction crisis, driven by habitat loss and poaching, the forces that drove the woolly rhino to extinction. Climate change and human activity are more powerful today than ever before. By understanding their story, we can perhaps find the wisdom and the will to make sure we do not repeat the same mistakes. We can choose to write a different ending for the rhinos of our time. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found this story moving, please consider supporting wildlife conservation organizations working to protect today's rhinos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from our planet's incredible history. See you next time. The wind howls, a relentless voice across a vast, empty expanse. Here, in the heart of the Pleistocene, the world is painted in shades of white and gray, a frozen canvas stretching to the horizon. It is a land of survivors, a testament to life's tenacity in the face of brutal cold. And among its most formidable inhabitants is the woolly rhinoceros. Imagine this creature, not as a fossil in a museum, but as a living, breathing giant, a fortress of muscle and shaggy fur, its immense head lowered against the biting gale. 2 horns, formidable and curved, rise from its snout, the larger one, a flattened, saber-like tool, perfect for sweeping aside snow to find the tough grasses and sedges hidden beneath. This is Coelodont antiquitatis, the ancient toothed hollowtooth, a name as rugged as the beast itself. For hundreds of thousands of years, these rhinos have been masters of the mammoth steppe. This wasn't a barren wasteland. It was a sprawling, dry grassland, a supercontinent of cold, teeming with life. Herds of mammoths, horses, bison, and reindeer roamed in numbers we can barely comprehend today, and among them, the woolly rhinos carved out their existence. They were solitary creatures, for the most part, or lived in small family groups, a mother and her calf. Their thick, reddish-brown coat was a masterpiece of evolution. A dense underwool trapped warmth close to the skin, while long, coarse-guard hairs acted as a shield against snow and wind. A thick layer of fat beneath their skin provided further insulation and an energy reserve for the leanest times. Their short, sturdy legs and broad feet gave them stability on the frozen ground. Everything about them was built for this world. Watch as one moves across the tundra. Each step is deliberate, powerful. Its small ears twitch, catching every sound that carries on the wind, the crack of distant ice, the cry of a predatory bird. Its eyesight is poor, but its sense of smell is incredibly sharp, guiding it towards sparse vegetation and warning it of the approach of danger. The great cave lions and hyenas of this era would think twice before confronting a healthy adult. With a quick temper and the ability to charge at surprising speeds, the woolly rhino was a formidable opponent. This was their kingdom, a world of ice and grass, where survival was a daily battle won through sheer strength and perfect adaptation. For millennia, they thrived, their distinctive silhouettes a common sight against the pale northern sky. They were a cornerstone of this Ice Age ecosystem, a symbol of its raw, untamed power. But even the most powerful kingdoms are destined to fall. And the world, as they knew it, was beginning to change in ways they could not possibly overcome. The Great Thaw began subtly. A slightly less harsh winter, a summer that lingered just a little longer. For many species, this might have seemed like a reprieve. But for the specialists, the masters of the cold, like the woolly rhino, it was a death knell. The vast, dry mammoth steppe, their endless pasture, began to transform. As temperatures rose, moisture increased. The tough grasses and forbs they relied on were slowly replaced by wet, boggy, tundra-dense shrubs, and eventually sprawling forests. Their world was shrinking, and it was becoming waterlogged. The rhino's saber-like horn, so perfect for sweeping away light, powdery snow, was less effective against the wetter, heavier snowpack of this new climate. The ground beneath their feet, once firm and frozen, turned to mud and marsh, hindering their movement. Their food source, the very foundation of their existence, was disappearing, choked out by plant life they couldn't digest. We can see the toll this took. Imagine a lone female, her shaggy coat matted and thin. She wanders for miles, her great head swinging low, searching for familiar sustenance in a landscape that has become alien to her. The energy she expends searching for food is far greater than the energy she gains from eating it. She is growing weaker. Finding a mate becomes harder as populations become fragmented, isolated in shrinking pockets of suitable habitat. And the calves suffered most. Born into a world that was no longer built for them, their chances of survival plummeted. A mother, herself malnourished, would struggle to produce enough milk. The young, less resilient to the changing conditions, would be the first to succumb to starvation or the damp cold. The herds, once small but stable, were now aging. With fewer and fewer young rhinos surviving to adulthood, the population was locked in a downward spiral. Each generation was smaller than the last. The echoes of their calls across the plains grew fainter. Into this world of struggle and decline came a new pressure, one that was adaptable, intelligent, and relentless. Humans, our ancestors, who had coexisted with these giants for tens of thousands of years, were now becoming more efficient hunters. Armed with sophisticated spear throwers and organized hunting strategies, they were no longer just scavengers on the periphery. Cave paintings from places like Chauvet in France depict the woolly rhino with stunning accuracy and reverence. They were a part of the human world, a source of awe, fear, and vital resources. A single rhino could provide a massive amount of meat, thick hides for clothing and shelter, and valuable bone and horn for tools. As the rhino's habitat shrank and their populations weakened, they became easier targets. Humans, themselves adapting to the changing world, followed the retreating, cold-adapted fauna. They pushed into the last refuges of the woolly rhino, the final pockets of steppe tundra in what is now northeastern Siberia. Here, the final act of this tragedy played out. The rhinos were trapped. To the south, the encroaching forests formed a green wall they could not penetrate. To the north, the Arctic Ocean, and all around them, the climate continued to warm, while the pressure from human hunters intensified. It was a perfect storm of extinction. Picture the last few, perhaps a handful of individuals, scattered across a landscape that no longer felt like home. An old male, his horn worn and broken, stands alone on a ridge, sniffing a wind that carries unfamiliar scents of damp earth and birch trees. He is the last of his kind. The knowledge of millennia, the genetic legacy of a species that had weathered countless ice ages resides in him alone. There is no epic final battle, no dramatic confrontation. There is only a slow, quiet fading. The sound of his heavy breathing is the only thing that breaks the silence. The once thundering herds are gone. The calls of mothers to their calves are a distant memory. There is only this solitary giant, a relic in a world that has moved on without him. When he finally lies down for the last time, it isn't with a roar, but with a quiet sigh. His passing goes unnoticed. The wind continues to blow, the newly grown shrubs rustle, and the world keeps turning. An entire species, a magnificent branch of the tree of life, is pruned away. Silence falls where once a giant roamed. The extinction of the woolly rhinoceros around 10,000 years ago wasn't a singular event. It was a process, a slow, agonizing decline driven by forces beyond its control. It's a story of climate change altering a world faster than a species could adapt, and the added pressure from our own ancestors tipping the scales. When we look at their fossilized bones or their astonishingly preserved remains pulled from the permafrost, we are looking at a warning. We see a creature perfectly adapted to its environment, a master of its world that still vanished. Their story is a powerful, poignant reminder of how fragile even the mightiest life forms can be in the face of profound environmental change. They weren't failures. They were simply overtaken by time and a changing planet. Their memory serves as a humbling lesson written in bone and ice from a world we have lost. Thank you for joining us on this journey back to the Ice Age. If you found this story moving, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more tales from the deep past. Every new subscriber helps us continue to bring these lost worlds to life. We'll see you next time. In the heart of the Ice Age, a giant roamed the endless steppes, a titan forged in cold, draped in a shaggy coat with a colossal horn that split the glacial winds. This was the woolly rhinoceros, a survivor, a monarch of a frozen kingdom. For hundreds of thousands of years, it weathered the planet's harshest climates, its heavy footsteps a constant rhythm on the prehistoric tundra. It was a symbol of endurance, a creature seemingly invincible. But even giants can fall. Imagine the final scene. The world is changing. The familiar landscape of cold, dry grasslands is giving way to unfamiliar forests and boggy wetlands. For the woolly rhino, a specialist in its frozen domain, this change is a death sentence. The wind howls, no longer a familiar companion, but a harbinger of the end. It carries not just snow, but a suffocating wetness. A lone rhinoceros, perhaps the very last of its kind, stumbles through a blinding blizzard. Its once powerful body is weakened by hunger, its thick fur matted and heavy with melting snow. The plants it relied on are gone, replaced by vegetation it cannot digest. Its massive horn, once a tool for clearing snow and defending against predators, is now just a heavy burden. With a final, shuddering breath, the giant collapses. The snow continues to fall, a soft, white blanket that will soon become its tomb, silencing the echoes of a lost world. The age of the woolly rhino is over. For millennia, this final scene remained a secret, locked away in the permafrost of Siberia. The world moved on, civilizations rose and fell, and the story of the great hairy rhino faded into legend, a creature of myth and folklore. But the earth keeps its diaries, and sometimes it allows us to read a page from its past. Fast forward to our time. In the melting landscapes of the Arctic, a tusk hunter makes a stunning discovery. Protruding from the thawing earth is not ivory, but the horn of a beast long thought extinct. It's the beginning of a scientific adventure. Scientists from around the globe converge, their excitement palpable. This isn't just a collection of fossilized bones. The Siberian deep freeze has acted as a natural time capsule. They uncover a carcass so perfectly preserved that it still has its fur, its skin, its internal organs. They find Sasha, a juvenile rhino calf that roamed the earth over 34,000 years ago, its strawberry blonde fur still intact. They discover Abaye, young rhino whose last meal is still preserved in its stomach, giving us a direct window into its diet and environment. These are not monsters from a fantasy tale. They are real animals, frozen in time. From these incredible remains, the secrets of the woolly rhinoceros begin to unravel. In state-of-the-art laboratories, researchers carefully extract ancient DNA from tissue samples. This genetic blueprint is a treasure trove of information. By sequencing its genome, we can trace its evolutionary history, understand its relationship to modern rhinos, and even pinpoint the genetic adaptations that allowed it to thrive in the bitter cold. We learn about its keen sense of smell, its specialized teeth for grinding tough grasses, and the true color of its coat. The story of its life is written in its very code. This scientific detective work allows us to bring the giant back to life, not through cloning, but through knowledge. In museums, teams of artists and paleontologists work together, using the fossilized skeletons as a frame and the preserved remains as a guide. They meticulously reconstruct the woolly rhino. Layer by layer, they add muscle, skin, and that iconic shaggy fur. The result is breathtaking. Standing next to one of these life-sized models, you truly grasp the scale of this animal. Towering at the shoulder, weighing several tons, it would have dwarfed any human. To see it, even as a reconstruction, is to feel a sense of awe and a deep connection to the distant past. We can almost hear its heavy breathing in the silence of the museum hall. But the story of the woolly rhino is not just a fascinating chapter in prehistory. It is also a cautionary tale for our time. For a long time, we believed that early humans, with their sophisticated hunting tools, were solely responsible for the demise of these megafauna. And yes, our ancestors did hunt them. We find their spear points alongside rhino bones, but the latest evidence paints a more complex picture. The rhino's DNA reveals a story of a population already in decline, struggling to adapt. The real killer, it turns out, was rapid climate change. As the Ice Age ended, the planet warmed at a pace the rhinos simply couldn't handle. Their vast, open, grassy habitat, the mammoth steppe, vanished in a geological blink of an eye. It was replaced by warmer, wetter conditions that fostered the growth of dense forests and marshlands. This new world was toxic to them. Their food sources disappeared, and their bodies, perfectly adapted for the cold, were ill-suited for the thaw. Human pressure was likely the final push, the last straw for a species already teetering on the brink. Think about that. A creature that survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, and countless predators was ultimately brought down by a changing environment. Its home disappeared from beneath its feet. It stands as a stark and powerful reminder that even the most resilient, most awe-inspiring giants are vulnerable when the delicate balance of their ecosystem is broken. The very forces that brought an end to the woolly rhinoceros rapid warming and habitat losser the same forces we are unleashing on the planet today, but at an unprecedented speed. The story of the woolly rhino is a mirror reflecting our own present and our potential future. We see rhinos today, their modern cousins, in Africa and Asia, being pushed to the edge of extinction by poaching and habitat destruction. We see polar bears, the great white giants of our own Arctic, facing a future of melting ice. The echoes of the past are deafeningly clear. As we look upon the frozen landscapes of Siberia, we see more than just a graveyard of ancient beasts. We see a warning. The fall of one giant tells us that no species is too big to fail. The Earth's balance is a fragile thing, and when it breaks, the consequences are irreversible. The silence of the woolly rhinoceros speaks volumes, a solemn message carried across tens of thousands of years, urging us to listen, to learn, and to act before more giants fall and more worlds fade to black. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, consider subscribing for more journeys into our planet's incredible past and its fragile future.